All right, so you're welcome here back to the Intentional Parent Academy Conference 2020. So we're back here. We're back here with someone pretty amazing. So you hold on. I'm guessing that we're not showing live on our Facebook group yet. So we're going to link this through our Facebook right on. Okay. All right. Thank you for being here and thank you for coming on again with us. So we have in the studio an amazing woman that if you are in this space, if you are in the parenting space, you must know her. And, she commands such a respect and with amazing work that she has done. She's a woman that wears many caps. She's a seasoned marketing communication professional and an entrepreneur with keen interest in education sector and social transformation. She actually began her profession with NTA Enugu as a news reporter before moving to the Broadcasting Corporation of Uyo State in the 80s. Her sojourn into the world of advertising began after her MSc degree in mass communication in the University of Lagos, and she has worked with various top agencies before she ventured into the world of entrepreneurship by setting up goals and ideas. She has also made a mark in advertising industry by pioneering several initiatives, a remarkable one being stepping into the marketing communication industry program for fresh graduates. She has also served as the chairperson for Women in Advertising Council member for Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria and the board member of the Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria. Her work into the education sector through her company, EduMark, has contributed a great deal to the transformation of the private education sector in Nigeria. EduMark has pioneered numerous initiatives in the education sector and has created self-sustaining programs that have been transforming the education sector even beyond Nigeria. We have the amazing Yinka Ogunde in the studio. So she's not just all this. We said we're not bringing you people that you're just going to go and see content. You just say, I have seen their content online. I don't need them. No, you need to be here to actually be able to get what it is that they have. Yinka Ogunde is also the founder of the amazing Facebook group called CP, Concerned Parents and Educators. That's actually how, I got to meet her. And today, in fact, it's such an honor that we have Yinka Ogunde in the studio come and talk to us about our involvement as parents in the education sector. She's been such an amazing support when it comes to the private education sector in Nigeria. You're welcome here, ma'am. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for honoring this invitation. We don't take it for granted. We are so excited. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Wendy. I'm highly honored and delighted to be with you here. And I must say, I also commend you for the great work you are doing, especially on parenting and other issues. I read your write-ups quite regularly. It shows a lot of depth, it shows a lot of understanding, and it shows that parents can be taught to do the right thing by reading through such things. And I must say that's well done. Well done. So it's
I'm so honored, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for doing this. TIP conference has been running for the past 3 years, and this year we agreed that we need to begin to involve parents in the education sector. So today we're bringing up parents, of we're bringing up people who have understanding depth of this conversation. And earlier in the morning, we had Runke Posh,
Correct.
and in fact, she did an amazing job, that gave a lot of people food, for thought by the time they left, this place just earlier in the morning. And today we're talking about what the role of parents is in the education system. A lot of times I'm thinking, do parents really know what they have to do? Do they know what they have to do for their children in school?
Well, you know that we have a very interesting scenario here, which I will want every one of us to to understand and see from various perspectives. I would want to see this discussion, our discussion, as pre-COVID, during COVID, and
Hmm.
post.
Hmm.
Because things have changed dramatically. If
Hmm.
we imagine, Wendy, if we'd had this conversation in December, the way I'll be talking to you will be totally different.
I absolutely agree.
If we'd had this discussion in January, I've been talking to you in another way entirely.
Oh, yes.
Now we are having this conversation in July. It's another person that you're dealing with.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
can tell you in 2021, it's another game entirely. And that's
Hmm.
why we're trusting that at least by 2021, it will be post COVID by the grace of God. And this
Hmm.
gives us a very, very interesting scenario about parents on the one side and the education sector on the other side. But one thing I always talk about, and the thing that should be of concern to everyone, not only in the private education space, not only in the public education space, not only as parents, the first thing that we must all have and make up our minds that we're going to address is the issue of the Nigerian child. What is best for our children? What is best for them?
Hmm.
That means that we are talking about cooperation and collaboration and coming together of various groups of people.
Hmm.
That's very, very interesting. That if you had been to having these conversations with me pre-COVID, I will just say, oh, the Nigerian.
Okay, so I'm guessing that we lost Yinka Ogunde just for a while, and I'm sure that she's going to return in no time. We're discussing the role of parents in the educational sector. Earlier in the morning, we were talking about how parents, should get involved. In fact, we were talking about parenting, the educational system pre-COVID and post-COVID. And there were lots and lots of conversations, around that. And Runke Post did justice to that. If you didn't, we're not at that session, you should catch a replay of that session. It was amazing. And now we're actually in the studio with Yinka Ogunde. Yinka Ogunde is the founder of Concerned Parents and Teachers Facebook group, and she's also the founder of EduMac. EduMac helps schools, private schools, to be able to do this better. So we just lost her in the studio, and I'm sure she's going to be returning, soon. But one thing that she was trying to say before the internet pulled her out, of the system, is that Yinka Ogunde was trying to say that this conversation is different in the now. It is different in the now because it's a different conversation altogether. Earlier in the morning, there was something Runke Posh said. She said, this conversation, it's not normal. This is not a new normal. We can't say, yes, our children are going to have the new normal. No, this is not a new normal. There's something big, that we are dealing with. All right? There's something big that we are dealing with. So we need to understand that. And that's the conversation that we are trying to have today. The role of parents in the educational sector at the TIP conference 2020. Somebody is trying to ask what is on my t-shirt. It says parenting is about you. And we have Yinka Ogunde back in the studio. So if you're wondering what is written on my t-shirt, is a quote that I've always said, parenting is about you. All right. Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome back.
Okay, I had to change from my iPad to another phone, and then I'm so sorry about that.
That's fine, ma'am.
I'm trying to use about 2 or 3 internet connections to make sure that we can stay fully connected.
Yes.
Okay, now as one of the things I was talking about is that let's look at it pre-COVID and now what we have during COVID. I want to say that there's a huge difference between both. Before COVID, we could say that the involvement of parents in terms of education with their children is something like an 80-20 kind of thing. But that means 80% the school is taking care of everything. The children are constantly in school. They drop their children in the morning. They don't pick them up until 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock
Mm,
in the
mm,
evening. And then the next day they're dropped in school very early again. But that has changed. That has changed. That was the parent before COVID. Now we have the COVID. We are living through a very unusual time. And it's
mm,
a time that nobody actually has an idea of when it will be over. And so the question comes in that are we going to live the lives of our children just on hold like that? We're certainly not
mm,
going to. And our children, the education of our children must not stop. Their education must continue. How do we ensure that it continues? We have to work together with the school to make sure that we continue. So for every parent at a time like this, you simply have no choice. You simply have no choice. You have to be an intentional parent. You have to
mm,
be a parent that is there. You have to
mm,
be a parent that is interested in everything that is going on in the life of your child because there is just no teacher that you can give that duty to again. It's a very, very interesting scenario that we have. And I can tell you that a lot of parents are trying to rise up to this. They're trying to rise up to this challenge. And even the schools are. Because as you're a teacher and you have given out all the things that you need to do, give to the child, you can be sure it's not only the child that you are teaching, you are also teaching parents. So you better be very good.
mm,
You better be very good. And that's the scenario that I believe that we're having now. What will post-COVID hold? We are not yet
mm,
sure.
mm,
But it calls for a time for every one of us, especially as it relates to the education of our children, to become very involved. You can no longer be an armchair parent,
mm,
or your child, the outcome may not really be something that you will be delighted with. This is the
mm,
time to get interested in what your child is doing, how your child is learning. It's actually very, very interesting because you will even be able to understand your child better.
mm,
You will not just depend on what the teacher says or what the head teacher says. You can see your child evolving. And I believe that ultimately, this will make parents to engage more with their children. It will also help bonding time.
All right. Okay. So, ma'am, you mentioned something that this is not the time to be the armchair parent, and a lot of
Absolutely.
parents, believe that. But this is not my job. Even till now, we've seen parents who are saying, "But it's not my job. I'm also paying for this online school. The teachers need to do something more."
For every one of us, there's a question that I will always love to ask. There is a question that I will always ask. Whose child is it? Whose child
Hmm.
are we talking about? Is it the teacher's child? Is it the child of the head teacher? Is it the child of the proprietress? Is it the child of Mr. XYZ that works in that school, or Mrs. XYZ that is teaching KG2? No, we're talking about your child.
Hmm.
I, uh, 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 Sometimes it's because you really don't sit down to plan the academic future of your child. You just simply assume. There's something we call the assumption gap. Just
Hmm.
assuming that things will always fall into place. It's very
Hmm.
easy to become an assumption parent, because as you are there, you assume that the school is doing their job. You assume that the government will provide for your, will sort out this thing on your child. You just assume that every other person will take care of your child apart from yourself, because
It's
it is.
interesting. Yes, ma'am. It's interesting, when you said whose child is it. It's interesting that this is a question a lot of parents have refused to answer. Earlier in the morning, when we were speaking with Runke, she said, I was saying something about getting involved. A parent said, so how do you make a school that your child is in better? And I said, get involved. But now that takes us to the next session. We're saying get involved. A lot of parents say they don't have time. Ma, I know you have grandchildren. I want you to share your experience of this. And I also know that you're a very busy woman as well. So please share with us, ma.
You know, the thing is that about not having time. I believe that maybe younger women today, I would say that somehow you guys have it a bit easier than a lot of us did. You guys you're having it easier because you can sit and do a lot of things online. You
Hmm.
can do courses online. You can get your certificates online within the cool comfort of your home. That is
Hmm.
what is emerging. You can do a lot of your businesses online. When my children, when they were young, we didn't have such opportunities. We didn't have such. You had to be there to take care of
Hmm.
them, or else something was going to give way. And that was the truth. Like we stated earlier, I started life in the field of advertising, and of course, you know that when you come to when you come to advertising, especially in those days, it was practically male dominated everywhere. Man, if you go for any of our annual general meetings or any of the things that we do, out of a hall of maybe about 100 men, 100 people, you'll be lucky to get 5 women. That was the case. In fact, they don't even use the term ad women. They use ad men. The ad men are meeting. The ad men are meeting. That means that, look, you are just supposed to toughen up. You are just supposed to toughen up. And
Hmm.
I can remember that at that time, they won't even say because you're nursing a baby or because you are managing a baby, you are not going to respond to your clients' inquiries, or to make sure that you get results on behalf of your clients, whichever account you're servicing. What this translated to for a lot of us at that time was that we had to make up, we had to choose. We had to choose. I remember it very, very. I mean, my once I was working with Promoster, and my young daughter got herself wounded. I think she pulled the divider upon herself or something like that, and we had to spend about 3 or 4 weeks at Igbobi because she could not walk properly again, and she had to be on admission. They had to put stone on her leg. They had to drop it down from the bed and so many things. It was right there at Igbobi, sitting on Igbobi, that I sent in my letter of resignation,
Hmm.
because I just could not continue again. I just could not continue. So I had to leave something that I enjoy doing because my support system could not handle that. And but the interesting thing is that even if you need to leave your career, your brain must not leave your career.
Oh, yes.
Your brain must still be connected to your profession. Your brain must still be connected to that thing that you are passionate about. Now it is possible to do both. It is possible to create things that will be thriving and viable even online, and at the same time look after the children. I'm not saying that it's not going to be difficult. I mean, it's not going to be have its own challenges. Of course, everything in life comes with its own challenges. Everything in life comes with its own problems. But it all depends on how you schedule your time. It all depends on how you plan your things. Because if you're a young mother and you still want to keep up with your career, you must know how to really create the right support system for yourself. All these things are critical, but I can tell you, you can do them. We've passed through all kinds of things that now you will wonder how we manage it. I remember I used to go for annual general meetings with my children. They would
Wow.
just they would come in there. I put them in the room. I go downstairs for the AGM. Run upstairs to the hotel room again to go and check them. Run downstairs again, hoping that they have not gone to the swimming pool to go and jump inside the water that I gifted them. So, but they were part of after a while, they were part of the advertising community there. That, oh yes, the Miss Ogunde's children or these children, and everyone we just continued like that. We just continued like that. So those are things that you have to ensure that you find a way of making them a part of your life, a part of your business, a part of whatever it is that you're doing. Because I can tell you the benefit of it is that you are glad that every day they are growing. Every week they are growing. Every month they are growing. Every year they are growing. So they're not staying the same. And you will begin to see that as you create that little time for them at the time that is very, very critical, it will be worthwhile in the end.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I like the answer you gave to that question on creating time, because one of the things that I say myself personally is we create time for what is most important, and we can actually manage these things in a very good way. And you've come also to point out that it's a digitalized world, so it means that we can use the digitals to be able to create the life that we want, and still have the time that we also want. Right?
Yeah,
So,
maybe also let me come in a little here, Wendy.
yes,
Is
ma'am,
that
please.
if you, I mean, just putting on my cap as a coach now, that if you really, really are serious about time management is not something that you assume you know. I discovered that.
Mm-hmm.
Time management is not something that you just believe is going to happen. It rarely
Mm,
does happen.
mm,
You have to actually seek to understand how to manage your time. You
mm,
have to actually seek to understand how you determine the majors and the minors and separate both. And you have to understand that time is a commodity. Once you spend it, you cannot get it back. It's like money in your pockets. So once you have that understanding of time, you are very, very particular about the way you spend your time. You are particular
mm,
about the time you spend in front of the television. I was
mm,
jokingly telling someone yesterday, of course, maybe because I don't have small kids in my house. If I'd had small kids in my house, it would have been very, very urgent. That I just realized that, oh, the television downstairs in my house got spoiled over a year ago, and nobody
mm,
has bothered to repair it. I think there was somebody we called Samsung, and then they gave one ridiculous figure because it was highly technical TV. I just say, hey, you know what? How can I pay that one to repair when I can? And my niece just told me that, I know that it's been there for over 1 year plus. She actually said to her, I said, no, it's 1.5 years. The reason is that the time I need to spend on it, I just don't have that time. So And because I believe it can be used for other things. I can catch up on my news. I can catch up with CNN on my iPad because they have all these abridged news. I can catch up with almost any news channel or anything I even want to. And when I want to, when I want to relax with a film, I can select the one I want on my Netflix or something like that, and just do it. You need to determine the things that are very, very important to you, because you are not going to have time for everything. You are not going to have more than 24 hours, just like you're not going to have more than 24 hours. So if you realize that everyone has been given those 24 hours and people are doing amazing things with those 24 hours, you may need to sit down and schedule your time and say that, how do I spend my 24 hours? If you're wasting too much time chatting with friends and socials, you need to ask yourself questions. If you're wasting too much time watching television, you need to ask yourself questions, because those are critical times that you may need to do something much more profitable and much more major for, or major with. So, and it's very, very important. So I
Oh,
hope that makes a little bit of sense.
oh, yes, that makes a lot of sense. You know that assumption parenting is something that we do a lot. Where we're assuming that things just falls on us and we just get to know them. Nobody wants to learn anything. You hear a parent say, "Oh, I'm running out of that. I don't know how." People come to me and say, "I don't know how you do this. Oh, you manage your time so well." And I said this, earlier on today to someone, and I said, time management is a skill. This morning, I have had this conversation with Runke Posh at 10 a.m. We have had a roller coaster move in the home with the children. I have also slept as well for about an hour. And we have also been able to have a family time where we are having conversations. So it depends on what exactly, but I'm back here again at 5 p.m. And I have some other parent who has all the time and they are saying, no, there's no time. It's about what we make out of it. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing this aspect, because it's really something that a lot of parents battle with and tell you, oh no, there's no time to learn, there's no time to spend with the children, there's no time to do anything. And until you actually create the time, then nothing really is going to work. So I wanted to share, in what practical ways can parents get involved with education? In what practical ways? I've heard you in your conversation share about how you carried your children with you, at work, how your child was in the hospital, you needed to resign and all that. So what are the practical ways you got involved, or you even teach educators or parents to get involved when it comes to education of their children?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Wendy. For me, let me just backtrack a little to maybe my own early beginnings. My mom uh, was a teacher, or she is still a teacher. They say once a teacher, always a teacher. So my mom ensured one thing, that every one of us had to enjoy reading. Because I remember that even at that time, most times we always have this ladybird series or one kind of reading or the other, and she ensured that we always read. I believe that if you are able to create an environment that your children will see you reading, you yourself will be reading. I mean, they themselves, getting them to read will become much easier, because children do what they see. People do what people see. So you have an opportunity to model the right behavior for your children. You have an opportunity to be able to show them the right way to do things, because that's a way that you can get them to behave the way you want. If they see that you are you are always reading, it becomes easier for them also to carry their books and to read. I remember that when my children were growing up, there was one of my husband's friends that came to our house at that time. And all he saw is on the dining table, there were books. In the sitting room, there were books. It was just a 3-bedroom flat, and but everywhere there were books all over. And the man looked at it and said that, look, it appears that the only thing you do in this house is reading. He said that's so good, because that means that your children will understand that reading is just a part of life. I believe that by actually intentionally promoting what you want your children to do, it becomes easier for them to go into that. And this is where being intentional about your parenting becomes very, very critical. Because if you assume that if you as a parent misbehave, your children will not misbehave. That may not be exactly a right. It's not exactly a right way to think.
Right. I don't know what happened. We're going to have Yinka Ogunde back. I guess she's off. I don't know why. I'm sure she will be back soon. And we are discussing exactly what is it that she did to be able to, get more involved in her children's education. And she was sharing with us
Yeah.
on time.
Sorry,
All right, ma'am.
Wendy.
Yes,
I have
go
to
ahead,
start
ma'am.
to take a little what?
That's fine, ma. That's fine, ma.
Okay, yeah. Mhm. Yes, so I was just sharing about the fact that you have to model the behavior that you want to see in your children, because they are watching you.
Mm.
They are looking at you. They're going to do exactly what you do. And that's why you have to be very, very careful. I know that there's been a lot of controversy about all this beating of children and all that. We beat children when we are confused.
Mm. That's a good one.
And we don't know how to react. So we just
Mm.
start beating them. We just start beating them because we don't have a solution. We don't know how to handle it. And
Mm.
sometimes they're just modeling what they have seen in us. If you are always shouting at them, if we're always screaming at them, then you shouldn't be amazed when they start screaming and shouting at each other. And when you are just telling them, no, you shouldn't shout at your sister, you shouldn't scream at your brother, they don't understand, because you are doing
Mm.
exactly the same thing. And that's where it's very, very important that we seek to understand more about parenting.
Mm.
Like I always say, a lot of the parents, and I am not holding myself even out of this. There's so many things that I now know that I certainly would have done things differently.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because when we are coming from an age, I mean, the age of a child is seen, not heard. We're
Mm.
coming from that age that if a guest comes into the seat into see your parent, immediately you greet them, you must disappear. You are not even supposed to say any other thing again. We
Mm.
grew up with all
Mm.
that, and that we were raised not to question things. We were raised not just to whatever your parents say, that is the gospel truth.
Mm.
So, but now things are different. Every one of us now needs to understand that don't just assume that the task of parenting is just something that you have been born with. You have not
Mm.
been born with it. You need to
Absolutely.
learn it.
Mm.
My husband is here, he's smiling at me as I'm saying all this and saying that,
Well done, sir.
because at that time we all assume that we know these things.
Mm.
But now we see that, oh, this is the way. Not that I mean, I can't remember really beating any of my children or anything like that, but there are better ways to handle things. Now we know. We understand dialogue. We understand now how to explain things in context to them. You know, we grew up in with a generation. They ask me, "If mommy, where should I put this thing?" I just say, "Put it
Put
on
it
my
on
head."
my head.
You know, you put it. And that child, in fact, that is the end of that child's life if he or she tries to do that. But now, that child may probably put it on your head.
Absolutely.
So, just the one thing that, what have I done wrong? You told me to put it on your head, and I did. But at that time, you know, one of my husband's friends shared a story. He shared a story. In fact, even today, until today, we sit down and we start laughing. His mom, absolutely amazing, mama. The man is almost 60 now, so you can imagine, mama, that at that time, mama was tough because she had about 6 boys and 2 girls. Very, very tough. Very, very tough. She said he remembers that day. Mama was riding on a bicycle to the farm, and Mama bought meat. She bought meat from the market, and she now saw him. He was playing outside with his twin brother and all his friends. And Mama said to him, "Oh, Taiwo, take this meat inside." And then he now asked Mama, "Oh, yeah, where should I put it?" And Mama said, go and drop it inside the latrine." Guess what he did? He said he now carried the meat.
Whoa.
He said he carried the meat. He said all his twin brother followed him. All his friends, they were asking him, "Are you sure that?" He said that was what Mama told him to do. That was what Mama. He said he now took the meat and he dropped it inside the latrine. You know all those holes in those days in the village. He dropped the thing, boom, inside. And Mama came back and said, "Where is the meat? Where did?" He said, "I did what you told me. I put it right inside the latrine." He said his life nearly ended. The fact that he lived to tell the tale is a testimony that his life, in fact, nearly ended. So you can see, we grew up with parents like that. Parents who expected you to know what they did not say.
Exactly.
Parents who expected you to just look at their eyes and read their language. Parents who expected you that once they are tapping their finger like this, you must know what they are saying. So unfortunately, now we're now having children that we have to explain everything to. So the process of intentional and deliberate parenting becomes very, very critical. And as a parent, it's not something that you must just believe that you understand. And you will find out that when you learn some of these things, you get better outcomes.
Absolutely.
You're able to control yourself better. You're able to develop your own emotional capacity as a parent. And that gives you the ability to handle things better.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, ma'am. A few days ago, I was going to log in with one of the speakers, and she was having issues, we were logging in. And she, after the session, she called me. She said, "I was so surprised that you were so calm. Even when we've done 10 minutes over the time, and I was, battling with my technology. And I expected you to get agitated since you said people were already waiting." So I turned to her and I said, "It's a skill. I didn't just wake up to become like this. I have learned to be able to manage myself in critical times, in situations where I feel most agitated. That's actually when you begin to know, have I really gotten this right?" So she was, in fact, she said to me, "Wow." And I said to her, it's something that I learned myself because I became a parent. I usually say that If your parenting is not changing you, there's something wrong with that parenting skill that you're using. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing that with us. So, we also would like to know, what are the advantages of getting involved in your child education? Are there more, are there advantages? Are there real, what is there a difference between parents who get involved and parents who don't get involved? Oh, so sorry. You're okay.
Yeah, yes, I can. You said, can you repeat your question?
Yes, I say, is there a difference between parents who get involved in their children's education and parents who don't? What are the advantages of getting involved in your child's education?
I believe there are lots of advantages when you get involved. Now you don't even have a choice but to get involved in your child's education. You don't have a choice because here we have the schools closed. Nobody knows the time the schools will come back. Don't forget that I started this discussion with something. I said there is pre COVID, there is COVID, and there will be a post COVID. And this translates to the fact that every parent must become involved. Because if you do not become involved, you will not be able to help your child. Because there is no teacher to help your child, even right there. Because don't forget that technically teachers are not yet allowed to visit children in homes. I know that some parents are having to resort to having teachers come to their home and all that to teach the children. But it comes with its own risk because you don't know where that teacher is also coming from in terms of exposure to the coronavirus something. So you have to be very careful. And that means that you need to help your children. You need to help your child to be able to continue learning. Because it's dangerous for us to leave the children unattended at this time. It's dangerous for us to leave their brains to leave their brains unchallenged. Because now, if I tell you that schools will resume in September, I have no guarantee that that will be done. If I tell you the schools will resume in October, nothing is definite. But if I tell you that at least while schools are closed, your child will still continue learning, that is possible. So, how are you going to support your child? It's
Mm,
by getting involved, it is by asking questions, it is by asking the school to help in areas that you feel that your child needs more help. So, I believe this is a very, very interesting time because if you leave your child unattended, if you do not help your child, that child is probably going to become overwhelmed. And not only that, I also believe that this is the time that parents need to help their children to navigate the world they have found themselves. A lot of children are traumatized because they're not in the classroom setting again. Some of them have not even seen close friends for weeks and weeks and weeks. That alone they find challenging.
mm,
You need to be able to explain the situation to them. You need to help them to come to the reality of the new normal. So it is not about concentrating on your own emotions alone and the things that you are going through as a parent. You have to remember that you are a parent and you are responsible for how your child will navigate this period.
mm,
That if it lasts for 6 months, if it lasts for 9 months, if it lasts for 1 year, in terms of the education of your child, what will be the situation of that child? What will be the condition of that child? What will be the mental state of that child? What will be the well being of that child? That is what you must be concerned about. And it's not a function of money, it's not a
mm.
function of time. It is your
Yes,
willingness to be able to do it. Because
yes,
once you have something that you need to do, you will create time to do it. And you will even
absolutely.
be creative about the execution. If your child knows that even though mommy is in the office, exactly at 12 o'clock, she's going to call me. We're going to have a video chat. I'm going to give her an update on the lessons I'm learning. That child knows that you are interested in his or her welfare and in what she's doing. What our children want us to do is to ensure that that we are interested in who they are becoming, even in this
Mm.
process.
Mm.
That is it's a trying time both for adults and for children. Don't lose
Mm.
sight of that. But you are the adults in this equation.
Yes.
You are the adult in this equation. The 10-year-old child is wondering what is happening to the world. The
Exactly.
15-year-old or the 17-year-old that is about to write school certificates and is not sure of what is going on is traumatized. They
Mm.
need you as the parent to help them to make sense of it. But if you are not showing sufficient interest, if you're not showing sufficient concern, it's easier for that child to misbehave.
Mm.
This is the time for you to bond together with the child. This is the child to explain things to them. Some parents have not even had the coronavirus conversation with their children. So the children just depend on what they hear from friends or what they listen to in the news.
Mm.
Sit down and have the dialogue. Sit
Mm.
down and have the family discussion. Sit down and have that explanation, that Q&A session that will help them to be able to make sense of the situation of the world they found themselves now. So it's
Awesome.
not something that you will just allow to go like that day to day. You know, it's
Mm.
so easy for a lot of us parents to be caught in our day-to-day life and in our day-to-day things that we really don't go
Absolutely.
behind the scene and try to put ourselves in the position of these children and imagine and picture what they're going through.
Mm.
So for people like us, we can say that, oh yes, we don't have small children again. But I also know one of my friends says, in fact, they had to do teleconferencing of all their children in various parts of the world in order for them to feel that connectedness. So that they will just know that in whatever part of the world that you are in, you are not alone. Because
Mm.
here we are, here they are. They don't know when they will meet again.
Mm.
They don't know when the family will be able to come together again.
Oh, yes.
So you need to help them to navigate a period like that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You need to help your child be able to navigate a period like this. I enjoyed what you said last, being able to connect with everybody, even though they are not around. I have a younger brother who lives in the US, and I remember that when the COVID news started, my parents found, a place to be able to bring everybody, together on a platform, Zoom, and we were able to actually share. And of course, as at that time, he was in a place that is pretty endemic. He was supposed to be in Nigeria this year. He can't come. I was supposed to go visit. I can't go. So there was lots and lots of anxiety. That's for an adult. So not to talk of a child who in this period doesn't even understand what it is that is happening. And a lot of the children, are now bearing the brunt of parents who are getting frustrated with the whole system.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I love what you said. You said getting involved in your child education is not a function of money, nor is it a function of time. It's about commitment. How committed are you in this period to get involved? That's what you need, commitment. And your child will actually see that you're pretty committed. When children are actually working with you, they understand, even when you're busy, they understand when you actually show commitment. So all we need to do is to be able to show commitment. If you have a question, please help us put it in the comment section as we begin to round up in this conversation, because we have ZOB coming up at 6 p.m. for to speak at the TIP conference. All right. We decided to do this an interview setting so that we can have a real conversation, on this. Someone said I picked up something to call during the kids online, break and find out how the lessons are going, and to show I'm interested in their learning. Thank you so much, Esosa, for them doing that. IJ said we need to help the children navigate through this unprecedented time. Absolutely. If we have questions that we want to ask Yinka Ogunde, please, we can put the questions up and we'll bring it on the screen for her to respond to.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Wendy. One of the things that I also like to add is that this is also a time that, as parents, you must be very, very sensitive to the needs of your child. You must be very,
Mm,
very sensitive to those things that they're not even talking about. You know,
mm,
it may also be a time for parents to sit down and ask themselves even questions about their own thoughts as a parent. That how do I really see this child? Sometimes some parents, the child, you may also be conveying a message that this child is almost like a burden to you.
mm,
And the child
mm.
is able to sense that.
Yes,
Because
yes.
everything you brush it off, everything you brush it off, everything you brush it off. Just because you want to chat with some friends, so just because you just want to have some discussion that may not add much value to your family life.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
welfare of your child should be key in your mind.
Yes.
The education of your child is paramount. That is
Mm,
what is going to make your child to be truly successful at this point in time, when the schools are no longer in season, when the
mm,
schools have closed their doors. So by the time they are coming back to school, you will see something new emerging. The children
mm.
that maybe were at the bottom of the class, not because of diligent parenting, they imagine top. And
Yes.
some that might have been good, you may see them just be in the middle because the
Mm.
parents were unable to manage a period like this very well for them. So
Wow, thank you. There's a question on the screen. It says, what advice do you have to helping parents of public school children in participating in education?
yeah, the one for public school children is that we need more should I say, corporate organizations to help the government and also to look into that area, because it calls for a lot of commitment, it calls for a lot of work, it calls for everyone to say that how can we help these children? As one individual, it's pretty difficult for anybody to begin to do things with public schools, except it's
Mm,
driven by the public sector themselves. But I believe that corporate organizations can actually do a lot. For example, imagine an NTN or a Glow or any of our telecoms
mm.
offering the education sector subsidized data, and
Yes,
even making it affordable for maybe public school teachers to be able to connect with their
yes.
students in various ways. I'm sure that that will be something that will be helpful. So at this point in time, all we can do is to make suggestions to the government on ways that our children in the public schools can actually can actually continue learning. I believe that a number of states have created platforms, radio, television things, and
Television.
so many other ways. One will just say that we continue to encourage them, and maybe the parents in that category will find ways of also encouraging them to get interested in what the children are doing at this time. So
Awesome. We have one more last question before we round up. It says if the children's school don't have an online platform and arrangements are there, is there any available platform? Is there any arrangement platform that parents can take advantage of now?
I believe that the quite a number of schools have gone online to create platforms for their children. Please ask the school again. There must be an arrangement in place. Because if there is none, you will just have to go on YouTube. You have to go on all those courses and things like that some of the multinationals have made available for children to continue learning. But one of the things that I see about that is the fact that if I'm able to connect with people that I am used to already, I see my old classmate, I see Tola, I see Bigbe, I see Janet, I see all of them. I find that exciting. And
Mm.
for a child, it can be quite therapeutic. That's
Oh,
why I
yes.
said that, first of all, ask the school, what are you doing? It is when the
Awesome.
school is not doing anything, that's when we now
Mm.
begin to seek for alternatives.
All right. Thank you
Yes.
so much. And as we were saying that, we have Olushola Bankole. I'm going to announce her. She's my children's proprietor. And I want to say thank you, ma'am,
Oh,
for being here. And
it's great
thank
to have
you.
you here.
Yes,
An
it is.
amazing, amazing lady, Mrs.
Oh,
Bankole.
she is. Oh,
And
she is.
she's the CP coordinator for Abuja. She's also the
Yeah.
NAPS coordinator. She's, in fact, wearing so many caps that all of us
Hmm.
have put on you.
Hmm. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bankole, for the work that you're doing. Like I said, Mrs. Bankole is my children's proprietor. You know, I say that the teachers and the owners of the school in my children's school also follow these teachings. So if we're doing something wrong, of course, you know that Ms. Bankole will not be here. Thank you for sharing that, ma'am. Thank you. It's so great to have you here. I know how busy you've been. And thank you for the platform. You know, talking about online platform, I remember when like 2, 3 years ago, when we, no, as far back as like 4, 5 years ago, when, we got into the school and Miss Bankole already had stable online platform for assignment for children. Parents were fighting it. At the time, she decided the children will be online. You people should go and deal with it. Deal with how you want to put your children online. Who knew that COVID was going to come? Miss Bankole,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. All right. Someone says my children's school says until COVID is over, because I'm a teacher, I carry him through the classes using his textbook. Now it's the beginning of summer school soon. Going to the next class. What do I do? This will be our last question.
Uh, you know that it's not only parents that are confused.
Hmm.
Schools are also confused. I
Yes.
don't want to say that even our government, they don't exactly know what next after this. So that makes it so difficult for everyone to plan.
Hmm.
And I will say it again. What I will advise is that parents and schools must dialogue together and come up with solutions in the best interest of the child. Because
Hmm.
this thing is not going away in a hurry.
Mm-mm.
No school can afford to say that we are not going to teach our children, we are not going to do online, we're not going to do this anymore. It's time to sit down and determine, okay, have we finished third term work? How can we finish third term work? Which
Mm,
one do we
mm.
do again? And just make sure that they work together. I believe that's the most critical thing at this time. So I
Yes.
encourage you, please dialogue with your school and let everyone know that we just need to fashion something out that is right for our children.
Awesome, awesome conversation. This is TIP Annual Conference
Okay.
2020. And we have in the studio Yinka Ogunde sharing with us on the role of parents in the educational sector. And we already told you that Ms. Yinka Ogunde is the founder of Concerned Parents and Teachers. Anything about concern about education, go to that platform. You're going to find it. The conversations are amazing. I'm also an active member of that platform as well. The
Oh yes,
conversations are amazing. Quite amazing. You should join. We are over 130,000 right now.
173,000.
Awesome. 173,000. And Ms. Yuki Agude is very forward thinking. I've also met her in person. I met her in Lagos one time when we did a community circle for Facebook where we also met. I'm so honored, man. I am so honored. I don't take you being here for granted. I feel like a star, bringing you to
It's a
the
pleasure.
conference. I know how you feel like a star. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling like real star right now. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm so honored. I am so grateful. And when I spoke to Mrs. Yinka Ogunde to do this, it was so seamless, and you would just think that I was just talking to my friend over there to just. Oh, in fact, I was so honored. I don't take you being here for granted, ma. Please, what I usually say is that we have not paid a dime to any of our speakers. We have not paid. I haven't paid Auntie Yinka anything. Now I've come down to my other parties. Auntie Yinka will finish the conference. I've not paid her anything. So what you need to do for me, what you need to pay her, is to go on social media and rave over her. Go and follow her social media handles. Go and follow her on all her works. Please celebrate her. Print her words on marble. Share it on social media. Follow her and celebrate her. Let people know who she is. Thank you so much, ma'am, for honoring us. We don't
Thank
take it
you
for
very
granted.
much. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
and
So
Wendy.
we're going to be, yes, ma'am. Thank you. We're going to be signing out. What will be your last word for parents as we sign out?
One thing I will advise you is that whatever you do with your children at this time, it's a great investment for your future. Don't take it lightly. It's not something that you can repair. Money can come a few years from now. Oh, it's great to have money. But the life of your children, that process, it only comes once, and you have to be there. You have to be intentional. So every investment in their lives, every emotional investment, every financial, everything that you do, it's like a seed. And I pray that it will bring forth good fruit by the grace of God. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank
Yes.
you for that word. What Mrs. Inka has said is that we must be intentional. Thank you for being here, ma'am. And we're moving straight up into the next session with ZOB, where we're going to be thinking and learning about homeschooling. We need to get involved. The question is, how do we get involved? Join me as we go meet ZOB while she teaches us how to actually do this and also what exactly to do. Thank you for being here, and this is TIP Annual Conference 2020. We just had Mrs. Yinka Ogunde all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, sharing with us the role of parents in the educational sector. Thank you.